Father's Weekend in the year 1969. Never will not be forgotten by the Martin family, unfortunately, not for happy reasons. The 14th of June of the same year, Dennis Martin and his grandfather, father, and little brother headed to the National Park Grays, Smoky Mountains for their annual family camp, accompanying friends' families, and with two little boys. Dennis is a shy boy, development about a year behind. Their peers was known that he reacts to any bond of his name. Even from strangers that day, the group didn't make it to the spot and camped for the night. 4 guys began to play hide and seek in the deep forest. They wanted to scare the adults and hid a couple minutes. Later, 3 of the 4 boys popped out from behind the trees, but Dennis was nowhere. After Dennis' father waited a few minutes to see if his son shows up, he started getting anxious and split the group in search of his son. Time was about 4:30. Day's grandpa is Dennis Eclade made it to Park Rangers Station around 8:30 p.m. After his arrival, the rain started to wash away all possible traces, making the search more difficult. All traces were washed away, and with the temperature dropping up to about 10 degrees Celsius, the chances of finding Danny's were getting lower and lower in the following days. Search group grew to almost 1,400 people. All of them were looking for a melon. All this led to that even the U.S. Army Special Forces joined the search. Everything was to no avail. Despite the worsening weather conditions for the next few days, marks were discovered by one of the squads. Authorities took them for Boy Scout footprints camped in the area, but one of the rangers, Dwight Makatura, counted that the footprints most likely belonged to Martin, father of deceased child. The search is officially over. In September 1969, Dennis was considered dead. The report wrote that he got lost and died in terrible conditions. The night of his disappearance, however, Dennis's father was convinced that his son was kidnapped in the and camping, so was the forest called in which they stayed was near the track, which Dennis could easily find a few days after that. How did Dennis go missing? One of the family who lived nearby reported that she heard a terrible loud scream. Before you see a hairy man walking down the road, walking through the woods not far from that place. Where did the scream come from? There are discrepancies in their stories, but some say that this man had something bright red thrown over the shoulder. Dennis was wearing a red t-shirt that day when missing in the year 1985. Hunter reported what discovered remains about 3 miles from Spencefield, which he believed belonged to a young boy. However, fearing repercussions for their illegal hunting, he kept the find to himself for years, but the bones are long gone, most likely scattered by animals. There are many questions about what really happened to Dennis Martin. He just got lost and died in harsh conditions, died of natural causes, starvation, or even animal attacks, or something much happened to the little boy more scary. Either way, the unsolved mystery of Dennis Martin means that we will never know, like an innocent child disappeared without a trace that weekend in a national park in the year 1969. Devil's Lair State Park, despite its name, is picturesque, a nature reserve in northwestern Arkansas. No matter how beautiful this rocky desert is, she is also became the scene of one of the worst incidents in this national park. Disappeared little girl in the summer of 1946. 8-year-old Catherine Van Elst vacationed with her family in a hut in this park, deep in the mountains of Arkansas State. It was her first vacation, and the family celebrated 25 years, her parents' wedding, on the news during the disappearance. We're talking that the child is lost when I was going back to the family hut from a nearby creek. Family got it quick that Catherine is missing after 3 days of searching. The local sheriff ordered Catherine's father to let all the people go who took the search for a girl on vacation. By that time, everyone was afraid that she would be dead, 3 days lost and alone in the wild. Girl caused huge physical damage to most people who were looking for her, not to mention herself. Catherine was found on day 6 despite the relief of the family. A little girl was discovered in a cave about 30 miles from her family's camp. The most important question of all was how an 8-year-old girl walked the distance at 30 miles and lived 6 days without food or water, without normal clothing, and any conditions of heat and sleep. One of the search squad members, student Fiber Girl, explained that when Catherine was found, she said these words, "I am calm," in response to the cry of one and lifeguard. Reportedly, she got out of the cave with no problem, and the girl was not scared at all. There were no scratches on her body or any other damage. She was thankful for saving, and later she told that spent the first night just lying in the grass before reaching the cave. She ate wild berries and 3 times water from a creek. To this day, we don't know how did she manage to survive in such wild conditions, and how did she manage to get this far. State Park Daleston shook the whole world with events occurred in the year 1946. Locals call the neighborhood Death Valley. Germans is that a national park located in the northern part of the Mojave Desert on the border of California and Nevada. For one unfortunate group of German tourists, Death Valley had to live up to its sinister name. The 8th of July, 1996, German architect Egbert Rinkus with his wife Cornelia Maya, with son York Weber and daughter May, went to Las Vegas. Groups rented a standard passenger minibus at the holiday. Exactly 2 weeks after the start of the holiday, they were supposed to fly home in Dresden to Germany on the 27th of July, but they didn't get on the plane. 21st October car was found off-road. The police immediately wondered, where is that car from there, and whose is it? When license plate checks were carried out, found out that the car was rented by Edward Rinker, and his family information later revealed that they were heading to California National Park. But somewhere between Vegas and her family, everything went very bad. The most likely option is that the group tried to follow shorter routes. It was thought to have been taken from a guidebook bought at the tourist center of Pern Creek. That was the last place where are the Death Valley Germans, what were they later named, were spotted alive. After they left the Fern Scream, they traveled to various tourist sites. The group signed an onboard log in an abandoned mining town. Uam Springs wrote, "We go through this pass, which is considered Mengele Pass' infamous bloody route." Investigators believe that group, realizing what they hit a dead end, were trying to drive through Mengele Pass, regretting that what did they go there. They bump into a naval base driving up to her and trying to find out how to get them out. They realize that the base is abandoned, losing hope. Find help. The band will never be found alive again. In 2009 year, father's remains families were found 8 miles from that place where the car was found. Found bones of a woman are considered the remains of his wife. The remains of the others were not found. The case dragged on unanswered for 13 years, however. The question is why the group was not found before remains very open. Because the search operation carefully examined all the neighborhood, and the authorities were initially confident what bodies will find, but understood that not alive, so far from the nearest town, and no car, but imagine real. The disappearance of all other family members is scary. Ate them wild animals or something mystical happened to them in this forest. So like animals would not leave the remains of their parents,